Hey YouTube, it's Mike, aka Plastic Life, and I'm going to be taking a look at the Pokemon Select Tyranitar from Jazwares. This figure retails for $29.99 Canadian, and I picked it up at my local EB Games. I've been excited for this figure after seeing the promo images about 3 to 4 months ago, so let's crack open this package and take a look at what we got. And here is Tyranitar out of the package, and he's looking quite menacing. I'm quite pleased with the aesthetics of this figure. It looks very good. It looks very comparable to the TV show or to the games, Pokemon Go, and so on. The spikes came out very nice. They're nice in the line. There's a porthole here for the stand. The tail is quite bulky. It has a little bit of weight so that it can help the figure to stand properly. You might want to arc it downwards like this, because when you do tilt the figure upwards, it does tend to wobble and fall over. So you have to kind of use it as leverage there. The paint apps came out pretty clean. There's some chipping in my figure here. If you look really closely, you probably can't see that on camera, but I do have some chipping, and some of the decal has kind of rubbed off over there, but still okay. I can probably fix this with some of my paint, a little bit of dry brushing, and so on. I thought this figure was going to have a lot more articulation than it did. It actually doesn't. I thought this was an ab cut, but it's not an ab cut unless I'm not pushing hard enough. But I did heat this up with a hair dryer, and it did not manage to budge at all. The arms don't move very well, but we'll get into the articulation right now. So for the articulation for Tyranitar, there isn't a whole lot, but his head can barely move. It doesn't move right to left, but it does move up and down, so not that much, just kind of tilts up and down. At least there is some articulation in the jaw. That's fantastic for a little bit of expression when you're doing some photography. If you're planning on doing any photography, you can get some expression out of it. The torso does not move. I tried to force it. It doesn't move. The arms, they do rotate back and forth. This joint right here, the little elbow joint, barely moves. I feel like I'm going to break it if I push it any further. It does tuck in about that much, so barely any articulation there. This thing is stiff as hell. My other side here works pretty well, but you can't get much articulation out of that. Not much going on there. The hips, they do move. They move outwards and inwards like so. They go up and down that much. There is toe articulation on this thing, which is kind of cool. So you think they gave it toe articulation, but they didn't give it torso articulation and so on. The foot does rotate as well. The tail, pretty bulky, but it looks like there's a lot of segments here for movement, but there's not much movement. It can go down, it can go up, it can go on this segment down and up. It doesn't go left and right unless you twist and turn left and right, but that's about it for movement. So this Tyranitar is quite a brick. I don't think he moves that well, but I mean, it is Tyranitar. He doesn't really have to move that well. He's not flying through the air. He's not one of the more agile Pokemon. I think it's okay if you're planning on displaying this or if you're planning on taking some photos of it. So Tyranitar doesn't come with any accessories other than this same display stand that we see with almost all of the Pokemon Select figures. There is a port in the back of Tyranitar, as mentioned earlier, and then this end just ports into the back of that end. It's good for stability-wise. It can kind of help him stand up, and you can also put him in some, flying poses like a body slam or something like that if you wanted to go that route. But that stand is available for you. It does hold the figure pretty good once you port that in there, but there are no other accessories for this Tyranitar. All right, let's get into some size comparisons. First, we have the Pokemon Select Charizard. I think that goes very well together. Tyranitar is supposed to be taller than Charizard, and he is slightly taller in this figure form. Here is the Gengar from Jazwares as well. And a smaller figure, there is the Ivysaur. I think that looks pretty good as well. The way. And we're going to move into a different line, the SH Figuarts line. Here he is next to a Blastoise. And the SH Figuarts line is much smaller than the Jazwares line, and they don't scale too well together, but these two work out pretty well in this situation. If you wanted to do some photos with these guys in it, I think they would go pretty good. And here it is next to a Pokemon Trainer Red. And that looks pretty solid if you wanted to have Trainer Red or any of the other Figma line trainers, I think they would line up very well with the Pokemon Select Tyranitar. They actually line up pretty well with all the Pokemon Select figures. So that would be something that might be a selling point for you if you have some of these older Figma figures. So my final thoughts on this figure: should you buy it? Well, if you're a fan of the Pokemon franchise and you like Tyranitar, then yeah, go ahead and buy it. If you're buying this for articulation and posing, this figure is a brick. There's barely any articulation. There's a lack of side-to-side head movement. There's no ab crunch, and the legs barely move, and the arms barely move. I do like how there is the jaw articulation that can give you some expression. You're not going to get much dynamic poses out of this, but maybe you can get some kind of walking or run-in poses out of that. I like to do photography with my figures, so I'm going to be doing some shots of Tyranitar and probably with other Pokemon. You'll see those at the end of this video. But I hope this review helps you. It's a great figure aesthetically. It's got very poor articulation, but if you already are invested in this line, the Pokemon Select line, then yeah, pick this guy up. $29.99 retail Canadian. It's a great price, and it doesn't break the bank, and you can build a nice collection and a nice display with these figures. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Leave a comment on whether or not you're going to pick up this Tyranitar. Head on over to @PlasticLife with a Y on Instagram and follow my Instagram page for more pics. And always remember, at the end of the day, it's your collection. Buy what makes you happy. I hope to catch you in the next video. Take care.